Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the last video, we explored the arguments for the existence of God from a naturalistic perspective. But even if we accept God exists, an even deeper question remains. Has God ever communicated with humanity? If a creator brought humans into existence intentionally, would that creator have left us here without a purpose? In fact, the idea that God has communicated with and guided humanity is not unique to one religion. It is one of the most widespread claims in human history. To start with, let us explore an argument. If there is, in fact, a creator, and the creator is rational and intelligent, then humans would have been created with intention. This inherently means humans would have been created for some purpose. Therefore, the premise of there being a rational God leads to an implication of humans having purpose. This is further solidified due to the fact that humans are capable of moral reasoning, a perspective widely explored by Immanuel Kant. Let us explore this perspective. Morality goes beyond simple survival instincts. When considering morality, an individual thinks about the needs of others and society as a whole, towards outcomes like justice and fairness. This is an alignment with a higher purpose, rather than simply acting on immediate desires. That is what the perspective observes. Moving further, an issue arises when we consider the nature of human purpose. If there really is a divine purpose, then knowledge would be required on what the purpose is. A manufacturer includes a manual with the machine. If humans with limited knowledge provide guidance for the things they create, it is a reasonable question to ask. Would a perfectly knowledgeable creator leave humanity without guidance towards the purpose of their creation? Across human history, numerous individuals have claimed to have received communication from God. Some of the most influential of these figures in history are Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. These claims have shaped entire civilizations, with the law of God being established. The point to make here isn't about the validity of these claims. The phenomenon itself cannot be ignored. Countless people across human history, across civilizations, have all claimed the same thing. Nearly every civilization has some concept of prophets or divine guidance. This widespread pattern is intriguing, because how could many of these civilizations independently arrive at the idea that God guides humanity through chosen individuals? Interestingly, the Islamic perspective has a very clear explanation for this pattern in human history, aligning itself perfectly. If revelation occurred throughout human history, and many civilizations speak of prophets and divine guidance, the question becomes, what explanation makes sense of this pattern? I would now want to discuss the Islamic explanation of this observed pattern, historical figures claiming communication and guidance from God. According to Islam, revelation was not a rare event, limited to only Muhammad ﷺ, as many people think. It is a continuous system of guidance. Every nation was sent a messenger with the same message, to worship Allah and to reject false gods, as mentioned in Surah Nahl, verse 36. This means every civilization received guidance, the necessary component for a rational God, as discussed earlier. Adam, the first human, was also the first prophet. He guided the earliest humans towards worship of the one true God. Therefore, human existence began with guidance, not ignorance. After Adam, God sent prophets whenever people strayed from monotheism, to guide them back to their purpose. The central message of prophets was the same, to worship Allah alone. And this trend is mentioned across numerous places in the Quran. The stories of Adam, Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa, Dawood, Yunus, Zakaria, Yahya, Isa, among many others, all contain the same central theme. They were people who received revelation and were chosen to guide their respective civilizations back to God. Surah Baqarah, verse 285, mentions that Muslims must believe in all prophets without making distinctions between them. In this light, let us discuss what exactly a prophet means. A prophet or messenger was simply a human who was chosen to bring God's guidance to humanity, acting as a bridge between humans and God. And we get to learn through Islam what the message was. All prophets brought the same message: submission to one God alone. Another important aspect of prophets is that they were all human beings. They are not divine and they are not objects of worship. This is significant because it allows them to serve as practical examples for humanity. This ensures divine guidance is demonstrated as a practical example that humans can follow. Further, there is one common theme across these stories too. People always ridiculed and mocked the message. The prophets' followers were very few. Very few people accepted the message. Each civilization had their own arguments and reservations towards the message brought to them. However, one thing remains true according to the Islamic perspective. It was not the people's claims that were correct. The message was correct, even though many rejected it for their own reasons and desires. Whether or not the message was accepted throughout history, the fact remains that there has been a continuous system of revelation and guidance. To put all this discussion in other words, Islam is not a new concept, but rather, it is a restoration and continuation of the same message delivered by earlier prophets. The message Islam preaches is the same as all the prophets sent before us: submission to the one true God alone. In fact, the very word Islam means submission to God. To conclude, I would like to say this: if God exists and humans have a purpose, then the question of revelation becomes one of the most important questions to ask. Because if God has spoken, then understanding that message would shape how we understand life itself. That's it for today's video. I hope you got to learn something new. Feel free to let me know in the comments if there are any topics you would like to see discussed. Inshallah, see you all soon.